again, I'm not a health expert. I'm not a nutritionist. I never have claimed to be. Oh, there's a bug. Oh. All right, so here's me talking about the positives and negatives that can come from choosing a more selective diet. I can't remember where I was going with that. Let's get on with the show. Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. I'm really excited about this one. It's a topic that I've thought a lot about over the years and have held different opinions and thoughts on. But yeah, my hope is just that you might learn something new or gain a new understanding for maybe someone with a different perspective than yours. So before we get onto the video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That would be amazing. And give this video a thumbs up if you like it. You can wait till the end if you like. So watch till the end. That works, yeah, win-win. So a bit of backstory. I have been either vegetarian or vegan or some sort of mix of that for the better part of 7 years now. So I thought I'd just kind of share my experience. This isn't a video that's like, you should be this, you should be that. I very much believe that personal conviction is everything. So yeah, watch this video, watch other videos, decide for yourself what you want to do. So now that I've said that, let's get into the video. First, I want to talk about the reasons why people go vegetarian or vegan, and then I'll touch on my own reasons. So I think there's like 3 main reasons that people choose to go vegetarian. I'm just gonna say vegetarian for now because I don't want to have you bothered saying both words. But I know that you know there's a difference. Okay. Number 1 is for animal rights, or because you really care about animals and you think that you know, you don't want them to suffer and be killed so you can eat them. That's basically the most simple kind of one, and I think that's what a lot of people assume. Maybe you tell me. The second one is for health. You have this perception that being vegan or being vegetarian is healthier, and you want to kind of, yeah, see that for yourself. Or maybe you've heard something, read something, and you just kind of want to experiment and see if it'll be better for your health and for you. And then the last one I put is you don't like the industry impact of meat in particular, and you're trying to be more green. So those are the 3 I think come up a lot. So for me, and I'll talk about then and now because I went vegetarian when I was about 20 years old. So it's been like, yeah, over 6 years from being vegetarian. So my initial reasons were kind of a combination. I will start by saying that I wasn't in a great place and I didn't have a great relationship with food to begin with at this time. So that is always like a starting point. And from there, and I've only been able to reflect on this really recently, I guess, is that one of the biggest influences that turned me to go vegetarian was the online content that I was watching. So for some reason, I don't know how, probably just algorithm, random things like that, I ended up watching and being interested in a few like vegan YouTube families or just people who were either vegan. At first it was just like, oh, this is interesting, fun to watch, like it's different. You just kind of like, what are they eating? And so that kind of was filling my brain a lot, because what we watch and what we listen to and who we're around, all those things like influence us more than we think. So that is the biggest thing for me, I think, at the time. So from there, I remember I started to kind of develop this aversion to meat. So it wasn't just like, I don't feel like it, or I want to try not eating it. It was more like I was fed messages like meat is dead, this dead thing, like you're eating a dead thing, it's not bringing you life, messages like that, which I don't necessarily agree with that message in that way at all. That was very confusing. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that was a message I was getting. I was also getting messages like, you know, vegan is more healthy. All of that was really being pumped out at me. And I was just, I guess, in the right place to receive that. And then also just there were one or two people that I knew personally who were vegan, and they, would like to talk about it. Not in a pushy way, but they just seemed happy and content with it. So all of that tied in. But I'd say the thing that really tipped me over the edge was the fact that I was struggling with my relationship with food, and I was very confused about what being healthy meant in terms of diet, in terms of food. When I say diet, I'm not talking about restrictive eating, things like that. I'm just meaning the foods, the categories that make up what you eat, just as a note. So I was confused. I was in a more vulnerable place, and because of the content I was getting pushed at me, and not just pushed at me, but I was actively then seeking it out, I just couldn't stomach the thought of eating meat anymore. And the funny thing is, when I stopped eating meat, I found that as time went on, it was harder and harder for me to consider going back. So that's something that just developed for me. And people have asked me a lot over the years why I'm vegetarian or why I went vegetarian, and honestly, I haven't always been straightforward. Mainly because I think when I was in the midst of a more, I don't want to say stubborn, just a more like tunnel vision mindset of what I'm doing is the best, and I think other people should do it as well. I wasn't in that season for very long, but I was in that season at a point. And when I was in that season and I was being asked why I was vegetarian or vegan, obviously I was saying things like, I love how I feel health-wise, I like what I'm doing for the environment, just, you know, all of that stuff. Now that I'm out of that, I have a bit of a different opinion, which I'll go into a bit later, but I don't want to get too off topic. Too into that. Okay, and then so the reasons why I'm still, and I'll explain what I am now. So I'm very much trying not to attach myself to certain labels and identities. I'm a Christian person, and so that for me is the core of my identity. Like, I'm a follower of Jesus, that's what I do, and there's a lot of stuff that comes with that, including taking care of the world, treating people with respect, kindness, compassion, etc. But that is the lens through which I see the world and try and go about being in the world. So with that, being a Christian, that being my identity, my core, I try not to add lots of other stuff to that. I kind of believe that anything that's worth representing, or I don't know if that makes sense, but I'll find in my faith. Anyway, the gist of what I'm trying to say is that life's confusing enough, and I don't want to just add labels to me. I'm Bethany, I'm a daughter of God, that's my important things. That's how I can get through life with a sense of peace. So that's what I do. And that is why I'm talking about how I would no longer call myself vegan anymore. Because when I called myself vegan, it was a bit of an identity. I will refer to myself as a vegetarian still now. It's just a less controversial word, honestly, to use. And so it's just easy if I'm out, or, you know, to be like, I'm looking for vegetarian food, and go from there. Okay, so finally I'll explain what I eat right now and what I don't eat right now, and a little bit of why. So as of today, and my big thing is I am open to change. This isn't something that is like core to who I am, and I don't think I'm a bad person if I eat meat. I don't think I'm a bad person if I don't eat meat, and I don't think that of anyone else. For me, as of today, I choose not to eat meat on a regular basis. I still have a bit of that aversion, whatever that has come from and whatever is still remaining of that. Like, I don't have the desire to eat meat. I don't miss it. I never really ever did miss it once I went off it. Yeah, it's mainly the reason I don't eat meat right now is because I don't want to. And I know that I can be healthy and happy without eating meat. And I enjoy cooking and eating alternatives. So that's basically why I don't eat meat right now. And then my other thing is that I don't eat a lot of dairy, which for me right now has nothing to do with animal rights or that side of things. It's more of a health thing, that is. So I have some suspicions about how my body reacts to dairy, certain dairy products, so I'm just trying to go light on it at the moment. I should probably go back and explain that as I said, I was vegetarian from about age 20 to around 22, which coincidentally is when I moved to the US and I moved to LA. So I then became a vegan while I was living in LA, and I was a vegan when I came back to Australia. I was vegan for probably all up around 3 years before I started kind of reintroducing things like eggs and honey and stuff like that. All that to say, my diet is between me and my doctor and tests that show me my iron levels and all of that, and that works for me. So yeah. Moving on. So I thought it'd be fun to just touch a little bit on what it was like being vegan in different cities. I was vegetarian in Sydney, then I lived in Los Angeles and Melbourne when I was vegan. So there's not too much to the story because these are all major cities, and so I found that there are quite a few options, and it's not like a big struggle being vegan in those places, particularly Los Angeles, where literally every second person has a diet you've never heard of before. So I actually really loved being vegan in LA because it was like there was just so many different things to try, and like the supermarket had everything. Like I just didn't have to like look up a place before I went to see if they had a vegan thing on the menu. It was just assumed that they would. That is something I do miss a bit being in Melbourne. Melbourne does have a great vegan community and lots of great products and stuff, but it isn't quite the same. I don't assume restaurants and places will have vegan options when I go out. I can assume they have vegetarian, but not so much vegan. But yeah, that's a little snippet into that. It really does, yeah, add something, an extra layer, depending on where you live. Because if you're like out regional somewhere, I imagine it'd be a little harder to be vegan. And maybe also if you like live in Texas. Is that a stereotype? Sorry. Okay, so I also just wanted to mention kind of reactions I got when I went vegan and what different people thought about it. This is a little interesting to me. So in general, people were pretty understanding and like, oh, okay, cool. I don't know. I know my family has really learned a lot from me being vegetarian or vegan. They've seen, like I was the first one to really do that. So they've seen kind of a little bit of what that looks like. But I just wanted to say from a Christian perspective, and I'm not trying to throw shade, but I did feel most judged by other Christians being vegan. Definitely not by everyone, but I think for some reason there is this kind of vibe in church that just eat meat. Like people just eat meat and that's the norm. If you're vegetarian, you are like going against God or something like that. I don't know, that's the extreme. But I will say, before I was vegetarian or had any kind of insight into it, I had a very narrow-minded view on on vegetarians, and I didn't even really know what vegan probably was. But I remember even a year before going vegetarian, I was in like a class at uni. The topic came up of eating meat, and I think there was a vegan in my class and she was sharing a bit of her experience, but I was just commenting to my friend that I just love chicken nuggets too much, like as a joke, like it's funny. And in my head though, I was thinking, I just don't understand, like God's given us animals to eat. Like that was the simplistic view I held on food and all of that. When it's actually a far more complex topic. Not to make things confusing. We don't need to like look into every single topic, every single view we hold. That's not healthy for everyone to dig into every single thing. But if it's something that you feel kind of called to look into or consider, why am I eating what I'm eating? Then I think, yeah, there's great resources. And I will mention a podcast that had a really great episode on this. And it's a podcast called, let me just get it up. So the podcast is called Unbelievable. I'm a regular listener. but there was one particular episode I was really excited that came up. My husband was like, did you see this episode? And it was called The Vegan Debate. Should Christians eat meat? So they debate the ethical, environmental, and scriptural, as in Bible, case for eating meat versus vegetarianism, etc. I'll link it below. I'll link the podcast down below so you can check it out if you want. This is what it looks like, but I'll link it below. But yeah, I'd say at the end of the day, this is really the message I want to send out. Well, I forgot what the message was. The message I want to send out at the end of the day is that vegan doesn't necessarily equal healthy. And also, healthy doesn't just equal what we eat and what we put in our bodies. There's so much more to it than that. So I would just encourage you to maybe take a look at what beliefs you hold about this, and just make sure whatever you are doing, whatever you're eating, I don't mind, but are you fueling your body? Are you treating it with kindness and love? And look, sometimes that is having some chocolates, sometimes that is getting more fiber, getting more iron, whatever it is, but don't fall into the trap of prescribing yourself to one diet or one way of, I don't know what to call it, lifestyle, and being so hardened that you can't have good discussion with other people from different perspectives. I also have encountered very judgmental vegans, so judgmental, and I can definitely see that some people take it on as their entire identity, and I don't think that's healthy. You can't go around life expecting everyone to follow what you're doing and what your personal choices are and convictions. Even if that, is something that you're really passionate about, you just have to accept that you can't control other people. With that said, be kind to other people, practice having good conversations and disagreeing politely. I hope that was succinct. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week. Bye. No, that doesn't make sense. Stay tuned.